Well, welcome everyone. This is our balance exercise series, and today is session number 2. For those who were here last week, you'll remember that I had mentioned we are going to be building on the exercises and materials that we do each week. And so today we'll be building on from some of the movements and concepts we had done from last week. Now, if you are new today, not to worry, I'll catch you up. I always do a bit of a review anyway in the class, so don't worry if you are brand new to this class, and if you are, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So this balance series class, we are focusing on a couple of different things. The first one being we will be doing a lot of weight shifting, multi-directional stepping, pivoting, turning types of activities. But in addition to that, we will be focusing a lot on lower limb and hip strengthening as well in order to help us facilitate better balance. And as we go along the class today, I will be explaining some of the concepts behind balance and how we maintain balance, and perhaps some strategies to help you save your balance if you were to ever find your balance is perturbed or you're falling in a certain direction. Of course, we can't prevent all falls, not 100% of falls, because sometimes even with adequate strength and balance strategies, you might still fall. For example, you might slip on some wet floor, you might trip over something, your dog might be pulling you in a direction that you're not expecting. So not all falls are preventable, of course, but we do want to be as strong as we can, learn as many strategies as we can, and really focus on agility-based exercises in order to help us improve our balance. Oh, I think I see a comment in the chat box. Okay, not to worry. Thank you for letting me know. No problem at all. If you are nursing an injury or you're not feeling as well today, no problem. Thank you for still being here. You're more than welcome to modify or sit out for certain things if you like. Now, because it is a balance class, we will be challenging your balance in order to improve it. And so with that said, please be very careful when you're doing this class. I don't want anyone to actually fall or hurt yourself. So I recommend that you have something nearby that you can hold on to if you did find that your balance is a bit more unsteady at certain points. So it can be, for example, the back of a chair, a sturdy table, maybe you have a grab bar on your wall, whatever it is you have, I recommend you make sure there are things around you that you can grab onto should you feel like you're going to fall. So please be careful, safety first in this class, even though I do want to perturb your balance in order for us to improve on that. Okay. I think enough yapping for me. Everyone probably wants to move, so I will have a stand up. I'll just make sure my screen is nice and bright. Okay, let's have a stand up. So today, oops, let me lower this down very slightly. So today we are going to start with our weight shifting exercise or weight shifting sways, which you might remember. So I'm going to stand up nice and tall. My feet are hip width apart, and I'm really going to imagine I'm a tall tree. I'm pushing my feet deep into the ground as if I'm growing roots into the earth. And the crown of my head is lengthening, pulling up towards the ceiling as if I'm this very long tree. And I'm growing in my posture, not just upwards, but downwards as well. So growing in both directions, really lengthening through the spine. From here, we're going to weight shift forward. Let me turn sideways, it might be easier. We're going to weight shift forward to the very, very edges of your base of support. And then we're going to weight shift back. And we're going to keep repeating this. Now, as we're doing this forward and backwards weight shift, we're maintaining that posture I mentioned a moment ago with that vertical growth, not just upwards, but also down into the ground. And it's almost like my body is an inverted pendulum, and I'm swaying forward and back with my body in one long plank. And I want to invite you to go as far as you can in each direction without losing your balance or having to take a step to save your balance. So we're drawing awareness to the limits of our base of support, in this case, i.e. our feet. We want to play around with moving our center of gravity on top of our base of support, our feet, without losing balance. Because in a really simple way of explaining what balance is, it's essentially our ability to keep our center of gravity on top of our moving base of support at all times. So when we're walking, turning, climbing stairs, reaching down for something, whatever we are doing, if we want to stay balanced, we need to keep our center of gravity on top of the base of support in that given moment, whether that's wide or narrow. And so we're using this exercise as a bit of a warm-up to help us bring some awareness into how we're able to move our center of gravity and what the limits of our base of support is. So we're going as far as we can without going so far that we're now losing our balance. So we're keeping the center of gravity within the confines of our base of support, but we're moving as big as we can. Okay, I'm going to turn to face you now. We're going to do the same thing, except now we're going to go side to side. So our feet still stay where they are, and we're still thinking about that vertical lengthening. So growth, not just upwards, but downwards into the earth. So we're lengthening from both sides here. And we're weight shifting side to side as far as we can to either side without, again, losing our balance and having our center of gravity move outside of the base of support. So at all times, we want to keep our center of gravity within our base of support, even though we're moving to the very edges of our base of support here. And you'll probably notice this side to side movement is much easier than going forward and back. And that's simply because our base of support is just bigger when we're going side to side. Whereas when we went forward and back, our base of support was really only the length of our feet. Whereas now it's from foot to foot, so it's wider. And so that might be another strategy to adopt as well if you're ever in a situation where you find your balance to be very challenging to maintain, then you want to make your base of support bigger so it's easier to keep your center of gravity within a large base of support. Let's go in a circle, as big as you can in the circle. And so when we're talking about keeping our center of gravity within our base of support is also why one of the strategies to save our balance is to take a gigantic step in the direction for which you're falling, which we'll talk about in a moment too. But the reason for that is because as you're falling in a certain direction, if we can take a big step in that direction, what happens is we're now keeping our center of gravity within our base of support versus if our feet stayed and we were like this, taking very small steps, our base of support will never really catch up with our center of gravity. Keep going. I'm just going to let some people in from the waiting room. And so we'll work on that strategy in a moment, but we'll continue on with this circular pattern still. Try to make the circle as big as you can. Let's try the other direction. Remember, you're going for a circle, not an oval. So just in case we end up going only sort of in one direction, you want it to be a big circle, a round circle, not an oval. Although I guess all circles are round, so that was a bit redundant. Keep going. And as we're doing this circular pattern, you're still thinking about that vertical lengthening through your body, not just upwards, but down into the floor too. So it's like you're being pulled and stretched from both ends here. Very good. Now let's try to write our names, our first and last names, in this swaying pattern as big as you can. Write each of the letters of your name as big as you can in this still same swaying pattern. And if you have a short name like I do, you can go ahead and do it twice. If you have a long name, once is probably enough. But you're trying to make this as big as you can. So if someone was staring at you, they should be able to see you moving somewhat. So we don't want to just be like this. That's too small. We want to go for big movements. Almost like the crown of your head has a flashlight pointing at the ceiling, and you're drawing as big as you can. Nicely done, everybody. Remember, this is really challenging and you need to hold on to something. That's okay too. But the point here being, we're trying to get our bodies to be more aware of where our center of gravity is on top of our base of support by choice when we're moving, and to really play around with the limits of our base of support, if you will, and how we can move our center of gravity without losing our balance, without our center of gravity going beyond the controls of our base of support. Let's rest for a second. Okay, we're now going to try that stepping strategy I mentioned ago. So in a daily life situation, if you're walking like this with very small, shuffling, low to the ground kind of steps, what happens is you're more likely to fall because A, the lower your feet are to the floor, the more you kind of you limit the length of your steps because your feet kind of stop along the floor and you're more likely to trip. But also, the smaller your steps are, the smaller your base of support. And so when I'm walking, the wind, the momentum of my forward movement might actually throw my center of gravity too far beyond my base of support, and then you end up falling in certain directions. And so if we can practice walking and moving with bigger, higher steps, you're now widening your base of support. So your base of support is no longer this, but this. And so it's easier to maintain balance because your center of gravity is more likely to stay within your base of support, if that makes sense. So we're going to try it. We're going to play around with it. Just watch me first before you try, because I don't want anyone to fall. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a step further in terms of our weight shift just now. So we're going to weight shift forward as far as we can. And then when you feel like you're going to lose your balance, we're going to take a big step to try to save your balance, because your big step now is going to catch your center of gravity in the middle of your base of support. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Or I guess it doesn't really matter what leg you're using. This is more strategy. So whatever leg you're comfortable using, we're going to practice bring your weight forward, 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 catch that center of gravity. And again, I'm going forward, 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 catch your center of gravity. If your catch is very small and you're like this, you're likely to not be able to maintain your balance or save your balance because your base of support will still be behind your center of gravity. So the important thing is this big step in order to save your center of gravity. Try it with me. You're welcome to have something to hold on to on either side if you're worried about your balance, because remember, we want to be safe. I don't want anyone to fall in the class, even though we're challenging your balance. So please do hold on if you need. So try it with me. You're leaning forward, weight shift forward, 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 catch that center of gravity to save your balance. Catch that center of gravity. You don't have to do it at the same speed or exactly the same timing as me. This is for you to feel in your bodies and to play around with how you might be able to save your balance should you be perturbed in this forward motion of having your center of gravity go beyond your base of support, and then you having to move your base of support underneath your center of gravity in order to stop yourself from falling. So you're catching your center of gravity on top of your base of support. It's kind of like if you had to balance a walking stick on the palm of your hand, you have to sort of keep moving your hand underneath wherever the walking stick is going in order to keep it from falling. This is sort of the same idea. We're moving our base of support in order to catch our center of gravity right in the middle of it. Let's try the same thing now, but going backwards. Now, this is going to be more tough than going forward for most of you likely, so please do be careful. Maybe if you're doing this, have a wall nearby so that if you were to go back and then you couldn't catch your balance for whatever reason, you at least have the wall to stop you from falling over, or perhaps someone is there to help you, or you can have something to hold on to, a chair behind you, something like that, so you won't actually fall down. Because essentially what you're doing now is the same thing, but we're going backwards. I'm weight shifting back, and then I'm going to catch my center of gravity. And so you'll have to make sure you take that big step back, which is going to be more challenging than taking a big step forward. So join me if you haven't already. Just be very careful as you're doing this. I don't want you to fall. So make sure you have something to hold on to or something behind you to stop you from falling should you lose your balance here. Remember, the point of this exercise is we're trying to catch our center of gravity with our base of support. We're moving our base of support to catch our center of gravity. And of course, in a real life situation, you might not be falling perfectly in a line forward or backwards. It might be a combination of the two, or diagonal or sideways or whatever it may be. But the point remains the same. The strategy remains the same. Whichever direction you're losing your balance toward, you want to take a big step in that direction in order to try to catch your center of gravity and stop yourself from falling. So if you're falling towards the side, then you're going to take a big step towards that side you're falling towards in order to catch your center of gravity. Same if you're falling forward, you're going to take a big step forward. If you're falling back, you're going to take a big step back, diagonal, etc. Just be careful with this one. Remember, when you're practicing, we don't want to be actually falling, so please be careful. Okay, let's move that aside for a moment. Now, we're going to do an exercise where we kind of put all of those things together, but with intention. So we're not going to be, meaning to try to fall now. We're going to be intentionally stepping in various directions. So we're going to play a bit of a game, although maybe not so much a game because maybe you won't find it as fun. It'll be challenging. But the point is we're going to do an exercise called the clock face stepping exercise. And you might have heard this before. But I'm going to be standing, imagining that I'm in the middle of a gigantic clock face. Okay, so if I'm standing in the middle of a gigantic clock face, that means 12 o'clock is directly in front of me. 3 o'clock is going to be to my right. If your image is mirrored on, if my image is mirrored on your screen, and this looks like to your left, just remember your 3 o'clock is to your right. The 6 o'clock will be behind you. 9 o'clock would be to your left, and then all the numbers in between of a clock. Hopefully that makes sense so far. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say random numbers on this clock for you to step onto. For example, if I said 12 o'clock, you're going to do this. If I said 10 o'clock, you're going to do this. If I said 4 o'clock, you'll do this. With me so far? So you want to make sure whatever direction you're stepping on, you're doing a big step. Because remember, the clock face, we're going to pretend, is very large. So if you step like this, you haven't actually stepped on the numbers because the step is too small. So you want to do a big step in order to step onto the number of the clock face. And just remember, if my picture here is flipped on your screen, then my direction won't be the same as yours. And so maybe don't watch what I'm doing and focus on where you're stepping instead. Okay, ready? 3 o'clock. 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 9 o'clock. And stop for a second. Okay, so now that we get the premise of the game, we're going to add a bit more of a challenge. This is optional. You don't have to. You can stick to what we did before. Or if you want an additional challenge, I'm going to invite you to now close your eyes and do the same thing. Now, if you are closing your eyes, please just be careful. There's nothing around you that you're going to trip on because I don't want you to fall. But you can add the eyes closed version if you would like. And remember, if I'm saying anything too fast and you're doing it slower, that's okay. You can always skip every second number or something like that in order to give yourself time. But I'm doing it at a moderate pace so that it kind of fits for as many people as possible. Okay, if you want to close your eyes, you're welcome to join me now. If not, keep your eyes open. That's okay too. 12 o'clock. 7 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 7 o'clock. 1 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 9 o'clock. 2 o'clock. 12. 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock. 4 o'clock. And rest. Well done, everybody. How are we doing? I snuck my eyes open a couple of times and you look like you're following, so that's good. Okay, so as you can probably feel, it's much more challenging now without your vision. And part of the reason for that is because vision is one of the systems that we use to keep us balanced, in addition to two other systems like sensation in the feet and also some fluid in your inner ear that tells you which direction and how fast you're moving. And so when you take out one of those things like vision, you might find that your balance is a little bit more challenging to maintain. And it's good to practice at times taking out your vision, because I find that when we have chronic conditions that affect balance, like Parkinson's, a lot of the times we utilize our vision a lot in order to maintain our balance and keep us informed about our environment. But sometimes vision might be taken out. Like if you were getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, yes, you can have a little light night, for example, night light, sorry, not light night. But you get what I mean. So sometimes there might be situations where your vision is taken out, or in the dark winter times, maybe vision is not as great. So things like that, it's good to practice every now and then taking out your vision. I think I saw a question pop up in the chat box. Let me just double check. Oh, my voice is breaking up. Okay, I will speak a little louder and hopefully that won't be a problem. If it's an ongoing issue, just let me know in the chat box and I'll try to change the setting on the microphone. Okay, we're going to do some strengthening now. We'll come back to these agility type of exercises, but we're now going to go into some strengthening of the legs. So we're going to do a squat series similar to what we did last time. Now for this one, if you'd like to hold on, you're more than welcome to do so, or you cannot, it's up to you. But what we're going to do here is we're going to go for some squats, and it looks like this. I'm sticking my bottom back and I'm sending my trunk forward, so it's almost like I'm sitting down in a chair. And then I'm going to squeeze my butt cheeks together in order to push my hips forward and stand back up. And we'll just keep repeating that for the moment and we'll add on. So join me here. We're going to do a squat. Stick your bottom back, chest forward. Squeeze your butt cheeks together. Push your hips forward to stand up. Again. Squatting down, squeeze to stand up. Nicely done. And as we're doing the squatting position, you want to make sure you're actually sticking your bottom back as if you're sitting down in a chair, because this is slightly different to if we were to just do this with the bending of the knees. Not saying that anyone's doing it like that, but the point of this is I want it to be a reproduction of things you might do on a daily basis, such as standing up and sitting down in a chair. And so we're sticking our bottom back, chest forward, as if you're about to sit down, and then you change your mind. You're going to squeeze your butt cheeks together, push your hips forward to stand back up. Nicely done, everybody. Keep going. Make sure you're breathing as you're doing this. Okay, we're going to bring the legs a little wider, so let me face you. So we're going to bring the legs a little wider and do that same thing, that same squat, sticking your bottom back, bringing your chest forward, squeezing your butt cheeks, pushing your hips forward in order to stand back up. Good, nicely done. Sticking your bottom back, squeeze to come back up. On the next squat, we're going to stay down and we're going to weight shift from side to side, trying to maintain that same height. We're shifting weight from one leg to the other, but can you see my height remains the same? So I'm not going up and down like this. I'm maintaining the same height. Back to the middle, squeeze and come back up. Again, sticking your bottoms back, weight shifting. Remain the same height if possible. So you're keeping low, keeping that posture. And then squeeze and come back up. One more. Squatting down, weight shift, same height, same height. Squeeze to come back up. Nicely done. The next one, we're going to add on slightly. Actually, let me still face you. So our legs are still wide. We're going to go down into a squat. We're going to stay here. And this time we're adding on. So we're weight shifting to then lengthen one of our legs out to tap to the side and then tapping to the other side. If you need to hold on, that's okay. Well, the point here being is we're utilizing our big muscles here to maintain that same position as we shift onto that single leg to tap out to the side. So again, I'm squatting down, stick your bottom back, same height, you're gonna tap, tap, keep your bottom back, tap, tap, and standing back up from the side. If you look at my spine for a second, as we do this, see how I'm lengthening through my spine nice and long? I'm not doing this. I'm exaggerating. No one's doing it like that, but you want to lengthen your spine as you're doing this tapping to the side. Remember, you can hold on if you need. I'll face you again. Again, we'll go squat. Lengthen through the spine. Tap, 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 and standing back up. One more. Here we go. Bottom back, long spine. We go tap, 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 tap. Standing back up and shake out those legs for a second. Nicely done, everybody. Hopefully that burned a little bit. Okay, we got one last variation to do. This time we're going to make sure to hold on to something for a bit of balance. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our squat again, like so. See how I'm lengthening my trunk, my spine, as I stick my bottom back. Then I'm going to squeeze my butt cheeks together again, push my hips forward, push the floor away from me into a rise, and then lower back down. So there's two motions we're doing now. We're going squat, squeezing back up, push the floor away to rise, and then we lower back down. Again, squatting down, squeezing here to lift up, push the floor away, and lower. Keep going.
Squatting down. Squeeze the butt cheeks to stand. Push the floor away. And lower. Again, we go squat. Squeeze to come up. Push the floor away. And lower. 2 more. Squatting down. Squeeze to come up. Push the floor away. And lower. Last one. Squatting down. Squeeze to come up. Push the floor away. And lower. Shake out those legs. Nicely done. Okay. How are we doing? Let me just check we don't have any questions. Was my voice better that one, or was it still breaking up? Thumbs up if you can hear me okay. Okay, good. I don't see any thumbs down, I don't think, so that's great. Okay. So what we're going to do now is let's break that up with a little bit of postural exercise, and we're going to come back to the strengthening of the hips in a second. So we're going to float those arms up in front of us, standing nice and tall. Remember, we're thinking about that vertical lengthening, not just upwards, but pushing down into the floor too. And we're going to pull one elbow back into this rotation and bring the arm forward again. Other side, pull the elbow back into a rotation and bring the arm forward. If you need to hold on, that's okay too. Pull the elbow back and bring the arm forward. You should feel a nice rotation through the spine as you're pulling the elbow back. Again, squeeze, pull the elbow back. Nicely done. Pull the elbow back, squeezing the shoulder blades. Good. 2 more. Pulling back. Nice rotation in the trunk. Last time, pulling back. Good. Keep the arms up. This time, we're going to pull both of our elbows back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as if you're trying to pop a button at the front of your shirt. And then bring the arms forward. So from the back, look at my shoulders. This is what happens. I'm squeezing. Can you see that? Squeezing my shoulders as if there's a pencil there, and I'm pulling the shoulder blades together to crush that pencil. I'm squeezing back, pulling the elbows, opening the front of the chest, and then bringing the arms forward. Again, go. Pulling back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, open the front of the chest, and bring the arms forward. 2 more. Pulling back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and bring it forward. Last one, here we go. Pulling the elbows back, squeeze the shoulder blades, open the front of the chest, bring your arms forward, and rest them. Drop them out to the side. Okay, last one. You're going to have your back against a wall or a closed door, a closet, whatever you've got. And we're going to bring our arms up into this kind of cactus shape with our legs slightly wider than hip width apart. And what we're going to do here is we're going to think about pushing, pressing our arms back into the wall. And you're going to pretend the wall is really, really dusty. And you're using the back of your arms and your trunk to dust the wall. Kind of like your upper body is a windshield wiper, and you're doing that windshield wiper kind of pattern. We're going from one side to the other, pressing your shoulders and arms back into a wall like a windshield wiper. So you want your trunk to move as well. Remember, windshield wiper does that. So we want that kind of same arc, a semicircle type of motion. Really press the arms and the shoulders and the back into the wall. The entire length of your arms should be against the wall if possible. And you're bending side to side. If anything feels horrible and it hurts, just be very careful. Maybe don't go as far. We just want a little bit of movement here, if nothing else. Good. Let's do 2 more. Hopefully you're still breathing. Don't hold your breath. And rest those arms. Shake them out if they're feeling sore. Shrug your shoulders if they're feeling sore. Okay. We're now going to come back to our lower limb strengthening again. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're holding on to something, whether that's a wall, a table, a chair, whatever works for you, but we definitely want to hold on. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do some donkey kicks. It looks like this. I bring my knee up and I'm going to kick my heel back. See how I'm leaning forward as I do that? I'm kicking my heel back. Knee up, kicking my heel back. And you're leaning forward as you're doing this, which is why you see you probably need to hold on. Although if you don't want to, that's okay too. It's up to you. But the point of this is we're trying to strengthen the hips here. Pushing back. Knee up. Heel kicking back. Knee up. Heel kicking back. Knee up. Heel back. Yes, nicely done. Knee up. Heel back. Good. Leaning forward as you're kicking that leg back as high as you can. And then on the next one, we're going to hold it in this position and you're going to pulse that back leg up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that knee up again. Same thing. As you're pulsing, make sure your trunk is not moving. We don't want to be doing this with our back as we're pulsing. I'm exaggerating. No one's doing it like that. But you want to keep your trunk still because we don't want to be crunching through our back during this. We want to use this muscle here. You're squeezing that hip muscle to help you with that pulse. And bring the knee up again. Reaching back, pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that knee up. Last time. Kicking back. Pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And rest. Shake out the legs. Rub out your hips if it's feeling a bit sore. You can probably see because we're standing on that one leg for the entire duration of that series, it might actually feel a bit sore on the side you were standing on. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go knee up, heel back, lean forward as you're doing that. Knee up, heel back. And the entire time that moving leg is not touching the floor at all for the entire series of this exercise. Knee up, heel back, knee up, heel back. You're leaning forward as that heel goes back. Knee up, heel back. Way down. Knee up, heel back. Knee up, heel back. On the next one, we'll pulse. Knee up, heel back. Keep your trunk straight. Don't move your trunk, just the leg. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knee up. We're not letting the leg touch the floor if possible at all. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Knee up. Nicely done. Keep your back from moving during the pulse. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. Knee up. Pushing back. Pulsing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Knee up. Bring the leg back. You got it. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And shake it out. Nicely done, everybody. If your hip is feeling sore, you can rub it out. Whatever you need just to shake it off for a moment. Okay, the good news is that one is over. But the bad news is we have another hip series to do. So this time, what we're going to do is you're going to make sure you have something to hold on to on the side. And so what you're going to do here is I'm going to bring my leg out to the side, and I'm going to lean away from that leg, like so. And I'm going to go lift and lower. But see how I'm hovering? I'm not touching the floor, I'm hovering. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. And I'm leaning away. And the entire time, my trunk is not moving. Just the leg is lifting and hovering. Lifting and hovering. Lift and hover. Join me here if you haven't already. We're going lift and hover. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. Lean away from that leg. Keep going. I'm just letting somebody in. Keep going, keep going. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. You're leaning away from that leg. Lean away. Make sure the foot doesn't touch the floor. It's going up and hover. Up and hover. Nicely done. The leg might be burning a bit. We got one last bit here. We're gonna go lift, tap down in front. Lift, tap down behind. Lift, tap down in front. Lift, tap down behind. So it's like you're drawing a circle with that leg. And you're leaning away from that moving leg, circling to tap down in front. Tap down behind. Tap down in front. Tap down behind. Tap down in front. Tap down behind. One more. Forward and back. And rest. Let's shake out those legs. How are we doing? Do we hate this one yet? I promise this is going to be our last one. I'm just grabbing a chair so I can do the other side while still facing you. So ideally, the object you're holding onto doesn't have wheels like mine, but pretend it doesn't have wheels. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're leaning away. And then we're going to go lift and hover. So move over. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. We're leaning away from the leg that's moving. So see how my center of gravity is on top of that base of support, the one leg that's standing? Going lift and hover. 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 Don't let that foot touch the ground. Lift and hover. Lift and hover. Nicely done. Lift and hover. 3 more before we do the circles. 2. 1. We're going to go up. Tap down in front. Up. Tap down behind. You're drawing that circle in front. Lift to tap behind. Lift to tap in front. Lift to tap behind. Lift to tap in front. Lift to tap behind. Lift to tap in front. Lift to tap behind. Again, in front. Lift behind. One more. Lift in front. Lift behind and rest. Shake out those legs. Well done, everybody. Oh my goodness. Well done. Shake out those legs. Rub your hip muscles if they're feeling a little sore. Okay, we got one final thing we're going to do. Let me just make sure we're not missing any chat comments. Okay, perfect. We're going to do one last single leg activity, and then we'll move on to some weight shifting forward and backward stepping again. So here's what we're going to do. You can hold on to something if you like. We're going to stand on one side, and what we're going to do here is the leg that's up in the air, you're going to write your name as big as you can. And if you cannot hold on, even better. But if you need to hold on, that's okay too. Try to use maybe a couple of fingertips rather than gripping on for dear life if possible. If you're finding this to be really hard, the smaller you write your name, the easier it is to remain balanced. But the bigger you write your name, the more challenging it is for you to maintain balance. Join me here if you haven't already. Writing your first and last name with your foot. And remember, we're standing tall in our posture. So imagine that idea we mentioned at the beginning with the vertical lengthening. So you're thinking about the crown of your head reaching up to the ceiling, but your feet also growing roots into the ground. So you're being pulled in both directions here to be one tall tree. And if you're really good at this, you can even try it with your eyes closed. But definitely optional. Please don't do that if you're already struggling with your eyes open. It's only if you wanted that extra bit of challenge. You're welcome to close your eyes as you're doing this. Remember, the bigger you draw that name, the more challenging it's going to be. Nicely done, everybody. Last few seconds. And shake it out. You might find a little bit of a burning sensation on the leg you were standing on. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. The same thing. You're lifting up the leg and you're writing your name as big as you can with that leg. Thinking about the sole of your foot being the pen that you're using. So you're getting the sole of the foot to move and write your name as big as possible. And you can hold on, remember, you don't have to do it without holding on, even though if you want to, that's absolutely fine too. Or maybe you're having just a few fingers on the support surface, whatever works for you. Writing that name as big as you can, as exaggerated as you can. Nicely done. And if you wanted that added challenge, you're more than welcome to shut your eyes as you're doing this. But that's very much optional, so don't feel like you have to. You're more than welcome to keep your eyes open, but if you want, you can shut your eyes as you're doing this. Just, again, be careful. We don't want anyone to fall in this class. As big as you can possibly write that name. And it does not have to be the speed that I'm moving. It can absolutely be slower. Nicely done. A few more seconds here. As big as you can write the name. And let's rest. Shake out your legs. Well done. Again, you might have felt some burning in the hip. That's that you are standing on, and that's very normal too. So what we're going to do now is, so first of all, so far in this class, we've done lots of weight shifting, playing around with our center of gravity on top of our base of support. We talked about the strategy to save our balance should we ever fall in a certain direction is to move our base of support in that direction we're falling in order to catch our center of gravity in the middle of our base of support, because that's how we stay balanced essentially. And then we've done some strengthening in the hips and the legs to help make that slightly easier when we're trying to do these big reactive steps in various directions. We've done some postural exercise here to help us lengthen up through the spine, because if we're moving like this, you can see my center of gravity is very far forward already. So even if I had a big base of support, can you see my center of gravity is already too far forward, so that I would have to make my base of support even bigger to keep my center of gravity within the base of support. So we want to do those posture exercises to lengthen and strengthen the back of our shoulders and our trunk muscles. And so now we're going to kind of put everything together, and we're going to do a weight shift stepping exercise that also requires us to be nice and tall. So here's what we're going to do. Let me roll up my pants here so you can see my leg. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up nice and tall. You're thinking about that vertical lengthening. You're being pulled in both directions, the crown of your head reaching for the ceiling, but at the same time, your feet are pressing down into the earth. So you're very long, like a tall tree. From here, you're going to take your leg and you're going to take a big step forward. From here, that same leg is going to go push to then take a big step back. And again, that same leg is going to do a big push to take a big step forward. You can hold on if you need. That same leg is going to do a push to step back. So one leg essentially doesn't move. My other leg is the only one moving. Do a big push to come forward. Push to go back. And just like we mentioned before, you're keeping your center of gravity on top of your moving base of support. So if you look at my trunk, you can see at all times my trunk remains on top of my legs. Can you see that? My trunk is moving, but see how I'm keeping my trunk on top of my base of support at all times. That's what you're aiming for. We don't want our trunk to be left behind as we're changing our base of support. We want to keep our center of gravity, our trunk, on top of our moving base of support. Because remember, we mentioned earlier, if we're really simplifying what balance is, it's essentially our ability to keep our center of gravity on top of our moving base of support, regardless of what we're doing, whether we're walking, standing up from a chair, leaning down to tie our shoes, going upstairs, whatever movement we're doing. If we want to stay balanced, we have to be able to keep our center of gravity on top of that moving base of support. So really practice that here. We're keeping the center of gravity over our base of support despite the base of support moving. You're using that one leg strength to really push and propel you in the opposite direction. Push to propel. Nicely done, everybody. And as we're doing this, remember, we're remaining nice and tall in our posture. We don't want to be hunching forward. We want to think about that tall tree analogy where we're lengthening, not just from the crown of our head, but also down into the ground like we're growing roots into the earth. Nicely done. If this is starting to feel easy and you're not holding on already, you're more than welcome to try with your eyes closed if you want. But remember, the main point here is you're keeping your center of gravity moving on top of your base of support. So if your center of gravity is now being left behind, then I would rather you have your eyes open and hold on to something and really focus on practicing this transferring of weight of your center of gravity over your base of support, rather than doing really challenging additions to it, like closing your eyes, but then not being able to achieve the purpose of the exercise, if that makes sense. Okay, let's give that a rest. We're going to try the same thing on the other side. So the other leg now, I've rolled up my pants on the other side so you can see my leg. Just like before, we're lifting, stepping forward. See how I'm moving my center of gravity on top of my base of support? Then I'm going to do a big push to step back and see again my center of gravity is on top of my base of support at all times. And I'm really using the strength of that one leg to propel me in the opposite direction. Push to propel. That's it. And you're lengthening up through the spine, nice and tall. Thinking about that tall tree analogy, we're being pulled on either side, keeping our center of gravity on top of our moving base of support. So don't leave your trunk behind. Make sure your trunk is moving on top of your base of support. If this is feeling too easy, you might need to step bigger. The bigger you step, the more challenging it is for you to weight shift and move your your trunk on top of that base of support. Nicely done, everybody. Big push. Think about that word, propelling. We're pushing to propel us in the opposite direction. Remember, you can hold on if you need. I don't want anyone to fall in this class, so you're more than welcome to hold on to something for support. But of course, if this is starting to feel not as challenging, you're more than welcome to take it a step further by closing your eyes. But remember, if you are doing the version with your eyes closed, I really want to see this motion of weight shifting, moving your trunk, your center of gravity on top of your base of support at all times. Nicely done. Really think about keeping our center of gravity on top of the base of support. Good. Well done, everybody. This was a tough one. You're doing good. Well done, everybody. Okay, very last thing before we stretch it out. We're going to do the same thing, but now going side to side, which is going to be easier. We're going to start with our feet together. We're going to go big step out. See how I'm keeping my center of gravity on top of my base of support still. That same leg is going to go push to come back in. There's an element of balance there. Same thing on the other side. Lift. Step out. That same leg is going to go put. Balance for a second. And then bring that leg down. Same to the other side. Stepping out. See how my center of gravity is on top of my base of support. Big put. My center of gravity is still on top of my base of support. Other side. So the whole purpose of all of these exercises really, if we're really summarizing it, is to do a bunch of different movements, but still being able to keep our center of gravity on top of our base of support at all times. And that's essentially how we improve our agility and our balance, by trying lots of different weight shifting, multi-directional stepping, agility type of movements in order to really challenge us to have the skills or develop the skills to be able to keep our center of gravity on top of our moving base of support at all times. Big push. Really focus on where your center of gravity is. Your center of gravity should be moving with you. We shouldn't have our center of gravity stay where it is. It needs to move with you. That's it. Big push. You can probably feel that. The reason we did the strengthening exercise as well is because we do need quite a bit of hip strength and leg strength to be able to help us move in this way. 2 more. Really push, propel. And rest. Shake it out. Nicely done. All right, let's do a bit of a stretch to finish. One leg forward, one leg back. Front knee is bent, back knee is straight, heel reaching away from you. If you don't feel a stretch in the back calf, you're going to bring that leg back behind you even more. You're trying to keep that knee straight and reach that heel to the floor. Well done, everybody. And let's do the same thing on the other side. One leg forward, one leg back. Really think about lengthening the heel, the back heel, to reach to the floor and having that knee be completely straight if possible. And coming up, we're going to do a thigh stretch. Now, we have 2 options for this. One, if you're really flexible, you can grab your foot and pull it towards your bottom, keeping your knees in one line and pushing your hips forward. Now, if this is challenging, don't worry, it probably is for most people. We're going to bring a chair behind us, and you're going to place your foot on the chair behind you, keeping your knees still in one line, and push the hips forward. And you should still feel that stretch at the front of your thigh. The higher the seat of the chair, the more you'll feel that stretch. And let's try the same thing on the other side. Remember, you can either hold on to your foot and pull towards your bottom or place it on a chair behind you, whatever feels better for you. Just remember to push your hips forward to feel that stretch. Nicely done. Let's have a sit down, and we'll do a bit of a bottom stretch now. So I'm turning sideways so you can see me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hike. I'll give you an alternate version if this doesn't work. But I'm going to get you to hike your foot onto the knee of the other leg like that. And then you're going to sit up nice and tall, and you're going to push this knee down as much as you're comfortable pushing, but keeping your spine nice and long. And then you can hinge forward at the hips over that leg from the side. I'm pushing. Tall, long spine hinging forward at the hips to feel a stretch in the bottom muscle in the back of the thigh. If that doesn't work, what you could do is you can lengthen your leg, and you can bring one leg over the shin, for example, like so, and just try to bring that knee out to the side. And the more forward you are over that, the more you'll feel it as well. I almost forgot to give you that alternate option after saying I was gonna. Let's try the same thing on the other side. You can hike that leg up over the knee, or if that's too difficult, you can just kind of cross that leg and try to drop that knee out to the side, whatever works for you. Pressing that knee down, long spine hinge forward. Long spine hinge forward with a straight back in order to feel that stretch. Coming back up, sitting nice and tall, legs wide, arms floating out beside you. And we're going to go into a side stretch like so. And noticing that it's not my arms going, but it's actually my entire body going to the side. And just be careful how far you go if you've got some back or pain issues that you need to modify. Coming back up, same to the other side. Remember, not just the arms, but the entire trunk as well. Coming back up, take your hand. You're going to hold on to the outside of your opposite knee. And the other hand is going to wrap around the back of the chair, and you're going to sit tall and twist yourself around into a bit of a rotation stretch. Just like before, be careful with this one if anything is hurting. Hopefully you're sitting nice and tall. Imagine you're rotating like a corkscrew, so kind of on the spot, if you will. And release. Let's do the same thing on the other side, holding onto the opposite knee. The other hand wraps around the seat, and you're rotating around. Nice and tall. You're rotating on the spot like a corkscrew. And release. Well done, everybody. Thank you very much for being here with me today. Oh, we're 5 minutes over. Sorry about that. But I'm glad that you guys stayed, so that's always good. I will see you all next week, same time, same place. Very, very well done today. Thank you for being here, and I will see you soon.